Here we are. We're here. Good afternoon. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another Let's Talk About Networking. We are here with Bret from the Pyramid Chapter in South Manchester, Stockport area.
Stockport.
Bret, good afternoon.
Afternoon, buddy. How are you?
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. I'm looking forward to a long weekend. I don't know about you.
I wish it could be long, mate. We're working tomorrow and Monday, but yeah, got to be
Glutton for punishment. Glutton for punishment. So, I mean, we just very, very briefly chatted off air. I mean, you sound tremendously busy. I mean, just tell us about your workload right now.
So our workload right now is, it's off the charts, really. As you can imagine, a cleaning company in the middle of a global pandemic. You couldn't be any more in the right sector to make something a success. So it's been a challenge. We've had to step up to that challenge. Obviously, we've been. We say we're a cleaning company, which we are, but we're so much more than that as well. Because obviously, in this climate, you always become counsellors to people as well when you meet them on a daily basis because they're not getting out, they're not seeing people. You're the one face that they get to see on a regular basis. But yeah, we manage probably now around about 60 different properties, 60 different buildings and whatnot. And that's everything from a small block of flats with maybe 2 or 3 apartments in it, up into, we do schools, we do, we've got one site that's got 40,000 square foot and we do the 3 buildings there. So we're getting inquiries daily. So it's incredibly busy.
And how has the actual cleaning process changed in the last 12 months? I'm not talking about kind of who wants you, but actually the process when you get into a building.
So it's usually so PPE is now a big thing, but the actual cleaning process there's some actual fallacies around the virus and around things. So we've been, people will ring us and go, will you come and do a deep clean? And we're like, okay, how long's the building been empty? And they said, we've been empty for say 3 months. And I'm like, you've got no COVID. Outside the human body, the most it can last for is 72 hours. So any hard services, and basically we've actually won contracts on the basis of being honest, rather than fear mongering and telling people, no, you've got to have it fogged, you've got to have it this, you've got to have it that. Mainly we are a peace of mind kind of, they see us and they're like, oh, the cleaners are in, fantastic. But yeah, for us really, it's protective equipment because it helps people out. But again, products and stuff on the market, people are putting these things out there saying this kills COVID. Now, again, there's a fallacy behind it. They're not lying, but they're not telling you the whole truth either. So coronavirus has a number of different strains. The one that's unfortunately killing people is COVID-19. Yeah. So it does kill coronavirus. It does not kill the strain COVID-19. So when they say, oh, this kills it, they're not telling you the whole truth. Because if they did have that, they could eliminate the virus completely by just spraying everybody in this cleaner, everything, and it would be gone. So it's a fallacy, really. So we're just carrying on using the same products we've used time and time again. And it's not really changed it much for us, if I'm being honest.
So, I mean, you're a bright guy. Did you ever think that you would become as expert as you are in talking about viruses?
No. No, it's, to be fair, I got into cleaning by completely on a whim and just fell into it, really. I'm actually a trained groundsman in sports turf. So I used to work at football grounds like Oldham Athletic and Nottingham Forest, and grass was my life. So when I moved up here from Leicester back in the year 1999, which seems a long time ago now, I basically got a leg up in business, and somebody said, bring on as a cleaner. So I was doing that. And then it kind of turned into a business because he turned around and said, I can't give you a redundancy, but we're not going to do this anymore. Here's £1,000 worth of contract and a vacuum cleaner. So at that point, I have no interest in cleaning whatsoever. I mean, if you'd have gone back and asked me mum at that time, I didn't even know where the vacuum cleaner was in our house. So I had no interest in it whatsoever. But over the years, it's kind of brought me to a place where you've got to know your stuff. And if you're going to stand out in an industry that's absolutely crowded, you've got to know what you're talking about. So when it comes to the virus and things like this, I kind of looked into it a lot.
Yeah.
Started to know my facts, and one thing I do a lot is I research the questions I think people are going to ask, so that I've got an answer for them. Because the one thing I hate doing is, I don't have an answer for you, or this, that, the other. Because you've got to look professional, and you've got to look like you know what you're doing. So you've got to do your research previous to these questions being asked, and that's what we did. So yeah.
I mean, it's an ill wind that blows nobody any good, but whilst it's been a horrendous 12 months for the majority of people in the UK, your business must have gone from strength to strength.
It has, yeah. It's very difficult, because I know different people say that different years have been bad for them.
Yeah.
People said that 2019 wasn't a great year. It was good for me. 2020, it's a horrible year. But I think it's all relative. So we've had our own challenges. We've had things. So I've got a young family, and their kids have been at home, and so we've had our own challenges to help grow a business at the same time as deal with this. And yeah, it's been a challenging year.
Yeah,
so challenging in its own ways, but ultimately for us, it's been a very productive year. So we've taken on a number of staff this year to facilitate the extra work that's come on. And also through BNI and through networking, we've built up some very, very good relationships with other cleaners around the area. So I'm one of those. I'm not precious about my work. I really am. When I say that, I mean, Manchester is massive. There's enough work for cleaning companies to go around. I don't have to start pilfering work off this person or taking work off that person. The work will find you out. When you get your name out there and you do a good product, the work will find you out. So we're finding that people come to us and they go, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" And me and my staff, we're maxed. Yeah. So what I will do is I will talk to other cleaning companies and go, "Can you do this under our umbrella?" And they go, "Yes, not a problem." So we can accommodate most people. There's nothing that we've been asked to do in the last 9 months that we've not been able to accommodate.
What's that? You've got a very, suppose, interesting story there. I mean, we're here to talk about your journey as well within networking. So take us right back. You know, before you started networking, you may have never networked before. Tell us what that thought process was, just up to the point that you started networking then.
Yeah, so I'd done no networking whatsoever until about 4 or 5. I think it's about 4 or 5 years ago now. And people had told me that I should do this and do that, but it was my business at the time. I was working maybe 2-3 days a week, and I was loving it. I was earning the money that I needed to earn. I had a young family. I could play golf when I wanted. I was only working 2 days a week, so I could literally I could live a lifestyle I wanted, and there was no need to push the business. I didn't have the drive to build an empire at this point, or to build anything bigger than just fulfill my own needs and fulfill my immediate future for myself and for my family. So then what happened was we started losing work, and it wasn't due to bad practices. It was due to internal politics within the industry. And it got to a point where I didn't do necessarily good practices in my business, and I didn't put any margin in there for a rainy day. So I was kind of living up to the breadline, taking all the money out of the business. And then when work disappeared, it really, really put me in a bit of a pickle, to be fair. So I started to panic as we started to lose more and more work. And it was right. Okay, now I've got a choice to make, because I've brought my family up with me. I've got this place where now I've really got to start pushing in for more work, and networking became that option that I took up.
And who introduced you to it? How did you get invited down? What was the story there?
So it was a guy, believe it or not, his name's John Smith, and
Hiya, John.
he'd been going on at me for ages. Come on, come down, and I'm like, no. And the biggest thing that put me off was the time commitment. And it was like, I've got to get up at silly o'clock. I've got to go and meet a room full of people. I have a bit of social anxiety anyway. I don't like meeting new people. And it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I'm thinking the cost involved. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. So my mate, my friend John, he did something for me that is kind of, I'll never forget. And he paid my membership for the first year. He said, this will work for you. If you make your money, pay me back. If you don't make your money, I got it. And I came along and I was invested from the word go. I'm one of those, I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of guy. And I think this is how all or nothing I was. And this is when the chapter was still a core group. And I think it was my first week as a proper member. I've been kind of inducted the week before. The next week, it was my wedding anniversary, the night before. And my wife had booked us a hotel somewhere. And I was told, you've got to come to every meeting, right? So I'm like, she's booked at this hotel. So I'm like, right, this is what I'm going to do. We'll go to the hotel. I'll get up at silly o'clock. I'll go to the meeting. I'll leave her at the hotel. I'll do the meeting. And then I'll come back and I'll have breakfast. and I did it.
Love it.
And that's kind of the way I thought. You've got to invest in these things. If you want them to work, you'll only get out what you put in. And people say that's not true, but it is true, because eventually you'll get seen through. Your transparency is everything. So it was just I proper just went head first into it, and unfortunately that core group didn't actually take off. It kind of collapsed around Christmas time, and I'm like, flipping it, what's the point now? So in that core group there's about 12 of us, and then I got a phone call off Louise Eccles-Cookson, and she was like, right, we can get you in a chapter. It's in Bramhall, and I lived North Manchester. Bramhall is proper South Manchester. And I'm like, that means that's half an hour drive. So the last one was literally 2 minutes around the corner from where I lived. I'm like, right. So I went on my first visit, and I've gone from a chapter of 12 to a chapter of 40. Yeah. And I'm like, I walked in and I'm like, flipping heck, here we go. So they kind of introduced us to the chapter, and I remember, I'll never ever forget it. The first thing, the vice president at the time, a guy called Jay Rooney, was like, this is the average per seat, and it's 60,000. And I'm like, wow, that's like nearly double, if not triple, what I'm earning now. But how can a small cleaning company get to that level of 60,000? So when it came to my first goals, my goals were £10,000 in new business. And I was looking forward to that for maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 years. And that's where it all started then. It kind of sent me on a journey into all these things, the questions that you have as a new member. What if I can't do this? What if I can't do that? When I went into a group of 40, that actually increased my anxiety of getting people referrals and stuff like that. But this is the reality. When you're in a chapter that size, your scope to refer people actually becomes bigger, simply because if somebody goes in a chapter of 12, do you know a plumber, and there's not a plumber in your chapter, this is time before the app, you had to say no because you didn't know anybody. But now you've got a bigger range of businesses that you can refer, that actually getting referrals is a lot easier than you think.
Yeah, I mean, Pyramid is such a beast of a chapter, and always has had a great name. So let's shall we identify some of them characters that I suppose have helped you along your way? You know, who are your fellow chapter members that actually we should give some recognition to?
Yeah, so people that have helped me, and I think that it's underplayed sometimes that friendships in BNI are the biggest biggest thing really, because if you feel comfortable in your environment, you open up, and that's when people get the best out of you. So for me, there's Tony Merrick, who's just stood down as the president chapter. We're really good friends. She's really helped me. Noen, Kate Baum in our chapter, she's been really good for me as well. She's been in here when things haven't gone well, and I can just sound off with her. But there's so many people to mention really. Some of the early ones, Jay Rooney, who's not in the chapter anymore. He was a louder than life type of guy, and he was kind of a Marmite guy for some people. For me, I loved him, and he just brightened up the room. Another guy at the moment, Nick Rowe, he's kind of in the chapter as the web development guy, and we now have an office with them. We've I was cleaning their place, and I'm like, that room upstairs, can I rent it? And he was like, yeah. So the friendship goes beyond anything else. So I would say when you come into BNI, your one-to-ones are vital, but also when we can, your socials are so vital, because that's when you get to open up with people really, and you get to know their interests and the common ground that's there and whatnot. So yeah, but to be fair, I'm doing a disservice to some people because I've not mentioned them. There's so many to say, and I think everyone who's joined our chapter along the way has had some form of impact on me at some point.
Good on you. So how many years are you in now? What year are you in?
I believe I'm going into my 4th year. I'm a 4-year member.
Good on you. Yeah. Good on you. And I suppose looking back, what, and I want to come back to where you actually started, because I knew that you started, as you said, you started on your own with a vacuum cleaner, and now you're doing how many properties? But maybe you could reflect on that, and also at the same time, what advice would you give your former self looking back to how to get the most out of relationships?
Well, that's a really interesting question. So I'll start with where we were and where we are. So I started as a one-man band, and when I joined BNI, again, I was faced with that decision: does this supply just my needs, or does it become something bigger than that? And I'm kind of a generous fella. I like to think that I don't want it just to supply my needs. I would like it to supply the needs of families and stuff like that. So we decided to go for that push to really kind of give BNI that one go. So after the first year, going back a little bit, it was we'd not really made any money. We made about $7,000 out of BNI. And my wife was like, Bret, you need to knock this on the head. You're putting too much into it. You need to knock it on the head. And I'm like, Ruth, you just please trust me. This will come good. You just need to trust me. And this went on for a period of time. And then we got to our winter ball, and we went for the winter ball. And the morning after we woke up, and she said to me, you better renew, because now I understand. You better renew, because I now understand what this is all about. So, yeah. So now, including myself and my wife, we're now a team of 8. So we're now covering all the schools. We're also, I think I said to you earlier, we're very close to signing off another contract, which will take us to a team of 15. Oh, so I never would have envisaged that right at the beginning. I would, if you'd have said to me, "You're going to do this," I'm like, "You're crazy," but the skills they come as you go along. The biggest thing that BNI has given me, obviously, is the financial gain and all that, but it's the people in the group that help you with your business acumen and help give you the skills that you're going to need going forward. And it's the best advice is usually what people aren't saying. It's conversations that you're listening to, you drop into, and you hear their experience and you hear where they're at. So you're thinking, right, okay, so I've recognized what they've done. I might do it differently. So you just try it. Yeah. And that advice really, really helps. And it's helped me get to where we are. I mean, don't get me wrong. If some days, if I had air, it'd come flying out because they're stressful. Staff kind of, they have their own stuff going on, and their number one priority is not necessarily your stuff. So it is your number one priority. So I think sometimes you've got to cut them a bit of slack and understand that that's the case. But yeah, building relationships is so, I can't stress how important it is, because without the right team around me, it doesn't work. It genuinely doesn't work. The right support of your family and stuff. Yeah.
Love that. How have you adapted then in the last 12 months? Because we're in a virtual world right now, of course, and Pyramid News, we're meeting face to face or in person. Hopefully, maybe the plans are to go back to that as whenever we get unlocked down. So how have you adapted though as a person being a networker? Because of course you said earlier on you had a bit of social anxiety. Has that gone because of it being on Zoom, or how have you adapted?
No, it's not disappeared at all. It's one of those, right? And I come across really confident. I come across like I don't have a care in the world. But after most of my presentations, even on Zoom, I physically shake. It's one of those things. But when I'm presenting, when I'm doing stuff, I just kind of get in the zone. And somebody gave me a fantastic piece of advice years ago. My first ever 10-minute presentation, I was bricking it, and I'm like, I'm so scared. People are going to find this is obviously my thought pattern. People are going to find out that I'm a fraud. They're going to find out that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I just really got like, I'm going to get found out. And then somebody said to me, no one's more of an expert on your business than you are. Go and present you. Mm-hmm. And that gave me the world of confidence. So going into Zoom, I am a people's person. I get my energy off of people. So going on to Zoom has been horrible. It's been absolutely horrible. I've not enjoyed it in the slightest.
No.
But if you ask anybody in Pyramid if I've enjoyed it or not, they won't have any idea, because I come across on the screen as in it's all good. It's a professional kind of face that I put on. So yeah, it has been difficult not seeing people. It's been difficult not being around those that encourage you in this, that, and the other. And especially if you're I'm big on going a bit deep now, but I'm big on something called So I'm big on something called love languages. There's 5 love languages, and they are how you give and receive love, and how you give and receive acceptance. So there's one called physical touch, there's words of affirmation, there's quality time, gifts, and there's one I'm missing, but there's another one as well. And for me, it's words of affirmation, physical touch. So I like giving people handshakes, and I like giving people compliments and stuff like that. So the biggest thing I found, especially in lockdown, was affected, because I didn't see anybody. So you can't shake anyone's hand, you can't do that. And then when it comes to talking to people disappeared because you couldn't speak to them. And there was a fear that came on people that they just wanted to stay away from you. So that really affected me. It really, really affected me. But it was okay, I can't do that, but I'm not one of those guys who looks at a glass half empty. It's a glass half full type of fella. It's like, what can I do? What can I do to push through this and whatnot? And we found those ways. And thankfully, the business has helped me find those ways.
Love that. So a couple of last questions. The first is, what does the future look like then now? I mean, assuming you get this fantastic contract, but even if you don't, what does the future look like for Fresh?
For us, I'm not precious. If we get this contract, it's fantastic. If we don't get it, fantastic. COVID has done one thing. It helped me change the structure of my business. Okay. So one of the things, I'll let you know, Fresh Clean is not my only job. I'm also an assistant pastor of a church, and so my goal was to get the business to a place where it could sustain me to go and do something that I really wanted to do, which is do our church work and our community work. So this year, in the middle of COVID, I made this crazy decision to come off the tools completely and to manage it. So rather than be a technician, start to be the entrepreneur and to start really pushing it that way. So it's been such a challenge to me, because now I'm not in control of our product anymore, because the staff are in control of that. And it's been a real challenge, but that's the only way it's going to bring growth, because I had a limitation within myself. So by removing myself out of the way, it removed the limitation. So for us, Fresh Cleaning now can go forward and can build on that, because it's not dependent on me, because it's dependent on the team, and we pull together as a team. So we'll keep on looking for contracts. We'll keep on looking for that type of work. But if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm really not precious on it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, we must shout out to your congregation, Brett. Who are we recognising?
So it's Fresh Fire Community Church, which is based over in Reddish. And yeah, we have a great time over there.
Love it. And I suppose last question, how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about you, if they want to know more about Fresh? Where can people go? So
if you go on Facebook, you can DM me on there. Send me that. If you want to send me an email, it's hello@keepitfresh.co.uk. And we can pick up everything from there. Or if not, if you are a member of BNI, we are on the app.
Love it. And I really want to thank everybody for watching. I mean, to be fair, Brett, you say that you may be anxious about it, but there's been a lot of people watching today, and you've absolutely swung the channel. So brilliantly well done. If you are watching this and you're thinking, actually, do you know what, maybe I do want to grow my business with relationships, and it does seem a nice way, a pleasant way, a fun way, and also a profitable way to grow my business through relationships with people like Brett and me. If you really, really want to, then you can scan that QR code at the top of the screen above Brett's head, scan that QR code or put a message in the chat below. Someone will be in touch and they'll invite you down to a meeting or for a chat and a coffee, but somewhere in Kirklees and Calderdale, in Manchester or in Lancashire. Come down, have a look. We do not bite. We're very friendly people. Brett, thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon.
No problem. You too, buddy.